Today marks what would have been Betty White's 100th birthday, and a challenge has been started on social media to give back to animal-based charities in her honor. The Betty White Challenge asks people to donate $5 to an animal shelter. Local organizations like Fur Babies Forever Homes and the Lloydminster and District SPCA are looking for the community's support.
As many people know, Betty White was a pioneering animal rights activist who was known her entire life about her passion and devotion to animals. So if people feel inspired to donate, we're just asking that people donate to their local animal rescue, and it's actually happening all over North America today.
Most of the work these local animal rescue organizations can do are made possible from community support. A lot of supplies and services needed for the animals are paid with donations.
So donations are going towards our continually growing vet bills, which can range each month, but thousands of dollars. It also goes towards supplies used in our isolation building. So expendables such as food, paper towel, bleach, detergent, gloves, pee pads, garbage bags, all that type of stuff. And then it's also going towards any fees that arise during the rehabilitation process of these animals.
For organizations like the Fur Babies, they want to carry on Betty White's legacy, and they hope Border City residents feel the same and make donations to local groups.
Betty White made such an impact on this world. So I think just being able to do this in her honor kind of just shows the difference that she made, and the fact that she's gone, it doesn't necessarily mean that her efforts need to stop.
If you want to donate to either Fur Babies Forever Homes or the Lloydminster and District SPCA, visit their Facebook pages for more information. With food prices on the rise across the country, Catholic Social Services and Midwest Food Resources are joining forces to help people manage their grocery budget. Our Tate Laycraft has more.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Janet Howerluck from Catholic Social Services as she's here in anticipation of a new educational program that aims to teach on the subject of budget management and grocery spending. Janet, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having us. This is a great opportunity to just share our presentation that we're going to be having on the 26th.
And with food prices on the rise across the country, it's kind of a timely and relevant moment to launch a program like this. So I was just wondering if I could get you to speak to the development process behind this program, as well as all that you aim to accomplish.
Right. We have been conducting networking meetings in the city of Lloyd, and we are connected with the North Battleford Immigration Resource Center. And so just through a couple of meetings, Midwest Food Resources came up. Now, this is Midwest Food Resources has been in Lloyd for quite a while, but they do so much more than just the food baskets. So we thought it was a great opportunity to have them come in January to do a presentation. Just because this is after Christmas, people are a little bit more broke. Not only that, but because of COVID, I mean, food prices have skyrocketed. I mean, just getting basic nutrition for your family can be difficult. So this is a way that people can access a food resource that is not too much money and is very helpful to stretch the budget.
And as a part of your efforts, I believe you might have just mentioned it in your response there briefly, but you're also offering a fresh food box program. So would you mind just telling our viewers a little bit about that?
Right. Okay. So the Fresh Food Box program, it's actually through Midwest Food Resources, and they're going to be not raffling off, but somebody will be able to win it at our presentation. And this is just a showcase that is the Midwest Food Resources has these boxes available, and they're from $10 to $15. And what's in them is fruit, vegetables, and grains. And in it will be a newsletter. And in that newsletter, there's going to be kind of like how to use the food, like maybe some recipes and such. There's also just a $10 all fruit basket that you can purchase. So it's not really a handout, but just a supportive measure. And so you can order on the first and third Thursday of the month. And you would pick up on the second and the fourth Thursday of the month. And that is at Living Faith Pentecostal Church, I believe. And so you pay when you go to pick it up. So you're not obligated and have to pay up front or anything. So yeah, so that's very helpful. If you Google midwestfoodresources.com, that would be helpful. And I just wanted to point out, like, there's also at the presentation, we're going to be having some information from Stacy Wines, who is our public health authority. And she has given us some resources such as 50 ways to cook 25 ingredients. And so there's quite a few recipes in that and other little tips and for lunches for kids and that sort of thing. So it's going to be informational in that way. And then somebody can win that basket. Yeah, yes.
And just before we wrap things up here, for anyone who might be interested in learning more or maybe attending the session that you guys are going to be hosting, where's a good spot for them to go online?
So we do have a Facebook page, Gateway for Newcomers, and of course, you can just give us a call at Catholic Social Services, 780-875-9084, and just chat with Roxanne and she can register you. We are having people register for this presentation and it's open to everybody. Just because there is a food basket that's available. And so Johanna will have to put their names into a kind of a draw to win it. So yeah.
Thanks again for your time, Janet.
It's time now for this week's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect. Back in '92, a local group aims to help prevent crime in the area.
Every set of eyes out there is better, and especially when we have trained observers, which Business Watch patrollers are, it makes an incredible difference for assisting the police in crime prevention.
The statistics do show the program has had an effect on the city's crime rate.
With discussing with the RCMP, there has been a slight reduction in the crime rate in Lloydminster, and part of that can be attributed to the benefit of the Business Watch Patrol.
The criminal element doesn't know who is out there watching them, and that's partially why the program is so effective.
Patrollers hit the streets at night in their own vehicles. It may be a time commitment, but there are rewards for the patrollers.
They do admit that it is very rewarding, especially when they come across something that involves a crime against the community. I know almost all the patrollers feel that way, and they would recommend the program to anybody. So if there are people out there that are interested, please contact me at the detachment.
And let it snow. Back in '97, children in the border city play on piles of the white stuff.
Border City kids are enjoying the snow we have this winter. But lately they've been moving from the playground to the streets. City snow removal has left huge piles along the roads, providing new play areas for the children.
It's fun to play on, and you can throw snowballs and all that kind of stuff. It's fun to play on them, and you can make forts with them, these big blocks.
But with the fun associated with these snow piles also comes a danger factor. If a car were to be coming around this corner, he might not see me, which could be an accident just waiting to happen.
It's probably not the best place to play, but you know, kids being kids, they like to take the opportunity where it exists.
But officials say kids and parents just need to use common sense and take special care to avoid high-risk areas.
I would think as a parent, you probably would want to take a little extra caution to make sure that if your kids are playing outside, that they're playing in an area that's not going to cause any problems.
With all the cold weather we've been experiencing, the piles won't be disappearing anytime soon. But until the big melt begins, motorists should take extra precautions, watching out for the kids.
And that's all for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Now Evan Kenny will take a look at your snowy forecast.
Yes, thank you, Jasmine. Like you mentioned, snowy forecast indeed. It has been coming down pretty steadily all day long, and that will continue throughout the night and evening. And there is a chance that that could turn into some freezing rain as well. With these temperatures that we're seeing, we are under a winter storm warning just because of that. Could freeze and thaw, throughout the night. Currently -2 here in Lloydminster. Not too much wind playing a factor into it today. However, throughout the week, tomorrow and Wednesday specifically, that wind definitely will pick up and will feel a lot chillier. Taking a look at some temperatures from around the region, as I mentioned, it's right hovering around that freezing mark, so the freezing rain could be a problem overnight. It's also -2 in Provost, and then 0 degrees in Wainwright, 1 degree in Vermilion and Vegreville, -1 in Marwayne, -5 in St. Paul, -4 in Bonnyville, -7 in Cold Lake, and -9 in Lacklebish. As we take a look now at the Saskatchewan side here, -4 in Macklin as well as in Pearceland, -9 in North Battleford and in Meadow Lake, -6 in Maidstone, and in Green Lake, -3 in St. Walburg, and -14 up in Isle of Cross. Taking a look at North Battleford now overnight, as I mentioned, that snow will continue for the region here and potentially turn into freezing rain. We will feel some cooler temperatures compared to what we felt last week. However, that should not last too long here. Taking a look at Cold Lake, -22 overnight before -22 with a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. Lloydminster, very, very similar here. And as I mentioned, that wind will be picking up. It will feel quite a bit colder than -22 tomorrow. -39 is the high tomorrow, it will feel like -39. Wednesday, once again, will be a chillier day. But for the rest of the week and into the weekend, it should warm up back to what we're feeling right now, as you see there, -3 on Thursday. That's all the time we have for weather. We will be back after the break with more news.
The first annual Cattlemen's Call event finished up on the weekend. With more on that, here's Thomas Wildman.
It was an exciting weekend for the Lloydminster Agricultural Exhibition, as the first Cattlemen's Call took place. With 80 head of cattle on display, it was an enjoyable event for spectators and producers.
Events are really important for breeders like myself. Of course, there's the social media way of marketing and a lot of word of mouth, but to be able to have your cattle in a building like this, a well-lit, warm facility, it's just a great way to meet those new buyers and make those new connections with people you might not usually be able to reach in your typical marketing strategies.
A total of 5 separate shows took place. First up on Friday was the Winter Classic Heifer Jackpot, which was won by the local Lloydminster breeders, Justamere Farms. Also on Friday, MGT Cattle Company of Edgerton, Alberta, won the Rising Stars Yearling Bull Show. On Saturday, Justamere Farms was back in the winner's circle, being crowned grand champion in both the 5-star Pair of Bulls Show and the Showcase Breeders' Herd Show. The Bullpen Group of 3 Bulls Show was won by Ravenworth Cattle Co. of Middle Lake, Saskatchewan. And finally, the Top Gun 2-year-old Bull Show was won by Lock Farms of Macklin, Saskatchewan. All of these breeders went home with either a cash prize or a buckle, and this is all thanks to the sponsors.
Of course, we couldn't do it with our sponsors, so we have a lot of great title sponsors, Canadian Natural and Scotiabank being our title sponsors, and then a lot of supporting people as well that have helped make this happen.
Thomas Wildman, Primetime, local news.
And now we'll take a look at your agriculture prices.
Taking a look now at sports. Unfortunately for Oilers fans, the team's recent skid is continuing. Jace Mackey and I caught up and discussed what's going wrong for the team.
Well, this weekend, the Edmonton Oilers played their first game in 10 days, and well, surprise, surprise, the Oilers picked up another loss. So, Evan, what's going on with this team?
Yeah, Jace, right now I'm laughing, but it's really no joke. The Oilers skid here. It's been hard to watch as an Oilers fan.
It's
6 straight losses just to build on losing 12 of their last 14 games. There's a real problem here for the Oilers. Now, there's problems all over the ice for this team, but for me, it really stems from their team defense. You can kind of get over the depth scoring or lack of depth scoring if the team was defending well. And to me, that gets broken down into defense as a position hasn't been doing their part, goaltending hasn't been able to make those big saves, and their team's penalty kill has been lackluster, to say the least. Throughout this entire season, they've averaged a 3.34 goals against average. However, in their last 6 games, the 6 that they've lost consecutively, they're averaging 4.5 goals against. And they're not really having those all-star saves, those sort of goal-saving saves, as you might call it, from their goaltending crew. As well, they're a team that's scored just as many goals on the entire season as they've given up, 117 in either category. However, with that being, plus-minus equaling 0, only 8 players on their team are a plus this season. Now, I know plus-minus might be a little bit of a skewed stat. However, when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl putting up 50-plus points already on the season each, to only have 8 players being positive is not a good sign for this team. They put a bunch of money in this offseason into a decor who's just underperformed. Duncan Keith, is obviously sort of the main target there with a $5 million cap hit. And while they have won some games with him in the lineup, maybe not enough to justify that $5 million cap there, Jace.
So, Evan, there's lots of problems there with the Oilers, and there's only so much a team can do to help fix that during the season. But what's one thing you think they can do to help fix their issues?
Yeah, Jason, in my mind, there's kind of 2 main things that the team could do. And it sort of gets broken down to either they could have a personnel change, whether that be in the front office or along the coaching staff, or they could go out and acquire new players. Now, in my opinion, it's much more difficult to try and acquire new players mid-season here. So, just touching on the personnel change, a lot of people have brought up the possibility of firing head coach Dave Tippett. It sort of just seems like the team has lost focus and sort of lost that spark, maybe not trusting Dave Tippett as much as they should be. Those 2 games within the last 14 that they have won, Tippett wasn't on the bench for either of them. The team was being led by assistant coach Glenn Gulletson. So it just sort of shows that they've lost that spark coming from their leader, their head coach. Now, like I mentioned, they could go out and acquire players. There's been quite a bit of rumors here, specifically lately, around the Oilers potentially getting a Vander Kane. I don't think that is, the best option for the team, if I'm being honest, but it definitely is one possibility. It's also been brought up quite a bit, the team acquiring defensemen or a goaltender before or around the trade deadline here. However, cap space is a huge issue for this team. As I already mentioned, players like Duncan Keith making $5 million, while, he might still be a viable player, maybe not at that price point. Same can be said for Mikko Koskinen. So if they want to bring in some sort of big-time player that could change their lineup around, they would have to try and dish out some of that cap as well. A couple defensemen on the market whose name have been brought up. John Klingberg from the Dallas Stars, who does make quite a bit of money, and Jacob Chychrun from the Arizona Coyotes. However, the asking price for him is quite high. It would be a package deal, most likely with a high-end prospect as well as a first-round pick. And the Oilers have said that they don't want to do that right now. So really only time will tell, as there is still quite a bit of time until the trade deadline.
All right, Evan, so you brought up 2 different kind of options the Oilers can go to try and right this ship. And I'm going to put you on the spot now. What do you think is the most likely option that they're going to take?
Jace, I think the most likely option for sure would be a personnel change, specifically at the head coaching position. Like I mentioned, I feel like the team's just lost, not interest per se, but for lack of a better word, the team's lost interest in what Dave Tippett is doing behind the bench. So couple of guys who could take over that job. As I mentioned, the Oilers won 2 games with assistant coach Glenn Gulletson. So that's one guy who could step in right away, and the guys are already familiar with. He could step in and be the new head coach. He also has head coaching experience with the Calgary Flames. Another guy who's an assistant coach in the NHL right now is Lane Lambert. He's won a Stanley Cup as the assistant coach with the Washington Capitals. He's from Saskatchewan and might be interested in coming and coaching the Oilers. And as well, he's a defensive-minded coach as he's the assistant coach for Barry Trotz with the New York Islanders right now. That's a good option. And then a couple of Winnipeg Jets guys that I think could fit in and turn this team around for the Oilers. In Paul Maurice, he left the Jets because that team needed a new voice, relatively similar to what's going on in Edmonton right now. So he could step in and fill that role. Or longtime Edmonton Oilers, defenseman and former Edmonton Oilers assistant coach Charlie Huddy. He's spent 23 years in the NHL as an assistant coach. He's never had the head coaching job, so maybe a former Oilers guy to get brought in could do the trick.
All right, well, thank you, Evan. Time will tell what the Oilers do, and we'll see if what they do actually results in some better hockey. But thanks for taking some time to talk with us. The Oilers, they have until the end of March to make some moves, and their next game is on Thursday against Florida.
Well, taking another look now at your evening forecast. Currently only -2 here in Lloydminster. However, it will start to feel more and more cool as the night progresses. -13 is what it will feel like with the wind chill later on in the night here. And then overnight and into tomorrow morning with that wind chill, it'll feel closer to -32. So gonna keep continuing to drop. Taking a look now at some temperatures from around the region. -3 degrees in Red Deer, -7 up in Cold Lake, -12 in Athabasca, 0 in Edmonton, -14 in Edson, -17 in Whitecourt, and then 6 degrees in Jasper and 4 degrees in Rocky Mountain House. Taking a look at central Saskatchewan here now. -8 degrees in North Battleford, -9 in Meadow Lake, -15 in Prince Albert, -13 in Melfort, and -5 in Saskatoon. As we move up north here now, -18 in Buffalo Narrows as well as La Loche, -21 in La Ronge, -23 in Flin Flon, -27 in Wollaston Lake and Stony Rapids, and -28 over in South End. Moving to northern Alberta here now, -18 in Grand Prairie and in Slave Lake, -20 in Peace River, -21 in Fort McMurray, and then in Fort Chipewyan and High Level, we see -22. Moving down south, we got some positive numbers here, and quite a few actually. 12 degrees in Lethbridge, 10 degrees in Medicine Hat and in Calgary, 3 degrees in Banff, and -5 in Coronation. Moving to southern Saskatchewan here, 3 degrees in Swift Current, -5 in Kindersley and in Estevan, -3 in Moose Jaw, -4 in Regina, and -11 in Yorkton. As we take a look at some national temperatures here now, on parts of Ontario and Quebec are in a similar situation that we are here in the prairies. They are under a winter storm warning as well. They are getting a little bit of a dump, maybe not quite as much as we will be seeing here today in Lloydminster. About 4 centimeters of snow is expected to stay from today. Taking a look overnight, things are going to drop, and with that wind chill, as I previously mentioned, it will just feel even more cool. Everywhere hovering right around that -20 degree range. We'll feel closer to -30 with that wind chill. As we move on to our 7-day forecast, the next 2 days are going to be cold. It's going to be feeling similar to how it felt right around New Year's there. However, the rest of the week and into the weekend, things will get back down to the single digits. There is a strong chance we will be seeing some flurries on Thursday with that freeze and thaw. Things could be rough on Friday when it comes to the roads. That's all the time we have for the weather for now. We will be back after the break with more news.
Tonight on Primetime Local News, I'm joined with the manager of Art Soul Life Creative Studio, Natasha Dewing, to talk about the upcoming event this Wednesday, storybooks and paintbrushes. So Natasha, can you tell me a little bit more about this event?
We decided to launch a little something for toddlers at the studio because we had been doing a lot of different activities and events for kids aged 5 all the way up to teen years. So we decided to just try. I've been researching different things that we could do for kids that age and something that's age appropriate. And I just stumbled across people in the States and other pottery studios that would do these storytime events. And I actually think that the past owner, Tanya, I think they tried it in the past as well. And she said the event went quite well. So I thought, well, we'll give it a try and see how that goes.
Who is teaching this class?
It'll just be me, and it's just a pop in, and it's an hour-long event. And I'm going to read a story. We're going to start off with "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie," because it was one of my kids' favorite stories when they were little, and it's fun, and the kids can get into it pretty easy. They can relate to it. And then we're going to paint a little ceramic plate in the shape of a cookie, and it'll go into the kiln and be fired and stuff. And when they get it back, they'll be able to have their snack time treats on it and use it in the future.
What is it like being able to host and being able to see kids enjoy art in such a different time?
It's really rewarding. I love when kids come into the studio. It's probably my favorite because their eyes light up. They look around at everything, and everything in there is so brightly colored. And when they're sitting there and they're painting, they're so quiet and focused, and you can just see them. And then afterwards, when we talk about how the pieces turn into glass in the kiln, all the paint melts into glass, and we go look at the kiln and check it out, and they can kind of, they get a sense of that. And it's really, really rewarding to see them at the end of the day leave, and they're just excited to come back and pick up their pieces when they're ready.
Are there any regular classes happening for kids of a younger age at your studio?
Not this age, but we started back in November hosting Kids Night Out, and we did it for ages 7 and up. And we started out by just on Fridays, and the kids would come and they would have pizza, and they would have a juice box, there was water, and we would watch a movie and then do a craft pertaining to that movie. And those events sold out sometimes within hours. And so we figured the demand, was there for something for the kids to do. Moms and dads could register kids, drop them off, and do their thing and go have a supper maybe, or do some shopping and come back and pick up their kids. And the art studio before COVID did a lot of summer camps and a lot of kids classes and things like that. And with COVID being what it was, that all had to go by the wayside for a little while. So we thought we'd start something up again, and the interest was there. And so we're doing kids classes as well every Friday. So it starts the first Friday of the month is a 5 to 7 age group. And the second Friday of every month is an 8 to 12. And then the third Friday of every month is a kids night out for the 7 and up age. And then we're doing a teens night out on the last Friday of each month.
Is there anything else that you would like to add about this event?
This event in particular that we're doing for Wednesday for the storybooks. I would really like to know the feedback on that and what other things maybe some parents might be looking for that toddler age group. I know it's a tough age to try to, the attention span isn't there very much for the smaller kids. So you got to keep it short and quick. So I would like the feedback on that, maybe from some other parents, to see what other things maybe their kids might be interested in.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Joining us today for Primetime Local News is singer Alicia Moffett, who has released her latest single, Lullaby, on Friday. Thank you so much for giving the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, we're glad to be able to have you on here. Now, what can fans expect with this latest single that you'd like to share?
You know what? I think that people who have been listening to my music or following me for the last years can expect it to be a little different from what they've heard. It's more upbeat. It's just overall so different from what I've put out. And right now the reactions are so good. People like the song so much. I'm very happy to see like how they receive it. And it's one of my favorite that I've ever written. So I'm glad that people like it so far.
Now, was there a reason or an inspiration for why you did decide to switch it up for this song and kind of release some more of an upbeat song?
There wasn't a specific inspiration. I feel like I'm very on the moment. So whatever I feel like at that specific moment, I feel like doing. Probably I was listening to more upbeat songs at that like time because I wrote it like almost a year ago. It was April last year. So maybe, I mean, I must have been listening to more upbeat songs and I just naturally just wanted to write one. And the song is more about like frustrations that I've had in the past or whatever. So I know I was going through a situation at that time that I was like, I was telling my producer, I was like, I need to talk about this. We need to talk about it. And it just came out like that. And it gave Lullaby.
And you were saying you already received lots of support before this single came out and since it released on Friday, correct?
Yes. I'm very happy with the reaction. I think we have almost 500,000 streams across the platform so far. A little more actually, but I'm very happy. I've been following the streams and I'm like, wow, it's my biggest release so far. So it's very cool. I'm happy to see that people listen to my. I mean, I haven't released anything for the last year and a half since my album, so I'm happy to see that people are glad I'm back.
And that's really good to hear. Is there a message or a lesson that you're hoping people will get out of after listening to this latest single?
I feel like I just want this song to make people feel empowered, and I feel like so far that's what it's been doing. People just listen to the song and they feel like badasses, and it really empowers people, and that's exactly what I wanted it to do. So that's perfect.
And are there some more projects that you're working on now after releasing this song that fans can expect to see in 2022?
Well, 2022 is all about music for me. I feel like 2021 was very, very based around preparation. We were prepping for 2022. So a lot of music coming out during the year in the following month and months. So it's back to back for 2022 and shows, obviously, if COVID wants to let us do that.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to add for people to know about concerning this newest single, Lullaby?
Well, if people haven't seen the music video, it was just released on a Saturday. It's a really, really cool music video. We've worked super hard on it. And other than that, I mean, go stream Lullaby. I think you're going to like it.
Once again, thank you so much for giving us your time today, Alicia.
Thank you so much.
You say I overthink another lie. I know just what you're doing. You keep walking around.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News tonight, and have a great evening.